Hey everybody, hello, welcome to Pastor's Perspective, sponsored by Calvary Chapel, Costa, Mesa, and live on this Tony Clark Tuesday afternoon, April the 5th. Give us a call, 888-564-6173. Brian Perez is my name, and yes, Tony Clark is here. He's on Skype. He's joining us via his home or church or wherever he's at today. Bobby Conway's with us as well on the Bobby Cam. Bobby is the pastor of Image Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. Tony's the pastor of Calvary Chapel, Newport News in Virginia. And here in the studio with me, we've got Brian Brodersen, the senior pastor of Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa. What's up, guys? Good to see you.
Yes.
Likewise.
Good to see you, Brian, across the desk from me, and good to see our friends on the screen in front of us. And Bobby, of course, was just here. I could have reached out and touched him. He was so close, but now he's far away.
Yes.
And but I looked out in church on Sunday morning, and I saw his handsome mug and his beautiful wife, and he missed those compliments because he just disappeared off the screen. But
He's back now.
Did you hear the nice things I just said about you? Or did you miss those?
I heard you say talk about my beautiful wife being with us.
Yeah. I did say you were your handsome mug too, so I put you both in. Cheryl was just commenting on just what a great looking couple you are. She doesn't think your personalities are very good, but she thinks you're really good looking. So so she said we can just hang around with them for the sake of our image, and that'll be fine. So
yeah, you guys are goals. You guys are goals.
And that's why Bobby's the pastor of Image Church in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Right, yeah. But we did have a great time when Bobby was out, and we got to spend an evening together having a meal, and that was really fun. And can't wait for Tony to come out and bring his lovely wife, Janice, who is our dear friend as well. And
yes,
we'll have to do something.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
That'll be bucket list kind of stuff right there. You know, if we did anything, that would be great.
Well, you know what would be really amazing is to get all three of us together with our wives. That would be super fun.
That would be a miracle. Yes.
Yeah.
try to line things up for that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we should.
We
make
can
it
get
happen.
their opinion on whether or not God has form or not, too. You know, over some dinner.
Get the girls to jump in.
Hey, can't get past that John 5:37 though. We can't get past that. Jesus himself.
All right, let's bring up other complicated theological issues today. And
There are lots of them.
not revisit that one.
That was a lot of fun.
That's great.
I had people coming up to me at church talking about what a great, conversation that was, and so it was good.
And what a heretic you are. I mean, I know it had to be just overwhelming.
Hey. Gotta go with those scriptures.
Hey, Tony, so do people in Newport News, do they listen on the radio station out of Lynchburg? Is that how they would hear us, or do they just tune in online?
They just tune in online.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. The ones that come up and say anything to me, they tune in online.
Now, does the stations in Lynchburg, do they reach you guys?
No.
No, right.
No. No, they don't.
Because I know they got a few translators around the state.
They do, and they were supposed to get one that was supposed to reach into our area, but I haven't heard, what's up with that lately. But I heard that it's supposed to get a translator.
All right. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So right here it says Lynchburg, Roanoke, and Charlottesville. Farmville and Charlottesville, yeah. Okay.
And those are 2.5 hours from me.
Yeah.
Charlottesville is. And Lynchburg is 3 hours.
Equip FM. So to all of those listening on Equip FM, hello from all of us to you.
Yes. Call us. We'd love to hear from you.
Now, the ones that's in the Lynchburg area that call in, they're listening directly from Equip FM.
Yeah, right. Cool.
Yep. Or equipfm.org. That's their website. You can listen live on there. All right, give us a call. We're here till 4 p.m. Pacific time, 888-564-6173. And let's do at least one Facebook question. CJ in California wrote in and says, in Christianity, we often say it's not a religion, but a relationship with God. So my question is, how does one explain the difference between religion and relationship with God? Brian, what would you say?
Well, we say that because we're trying to communicate something. I mean, it really is. It's both. It is a religion. It is a set of beliefs that we rally around. But a lot of times what happens with the religion, it just becomes very formal. It just becomes a set of beliefs with no real experience with the person that you're believing in. And some religions don't even allow for a personal experience with God. Islam doesn't really teach that you enter into a personal relationship with Allah. Allah is way, way, way too great to have any kind of real personal association with you. So when we say relationship versus religion, we're trying to emphasize the point that this is something where you actually personally meet God and you connect with Him on a personal level, and it's not just a doctrinal statement. It is a doctrinal statement, but there's a living person behind the doctrinal statement that we connect with. So that's what I think when I think of that. I don't know. What do you guys got? Any other thoughts on it?
Yeah, the word religion is mentioned at least 4, maybe 5 times if you count the Old King James. It's mentioned 5 times in the Bible. 4 of them, they're connected to Judaism. And Paul talks about, his time with the religion of Judaism. But there's one positive use of religion in James 1, verses 26 and 27. It says, pure and undefiled religion is this, to, visit the orphans and widows and, help those in their time of need, that sort of thing in James 1:27. So it's used in a positive sense there. But just like you said, Christianity is a religion, but what has happened is the religion has been reduced to a bunch of man-made rules and regulations, and we're trying to communicate its pure definition, which is a relationship with the Almighty God. And so, but it's been reduced over the years to just rules and regulations, unfortunately, in a lot of the Christian world.
Mm-hmm. Good thoughts. CJ, thanks for sending in your question on Facebook.com/Pastor's Perspective using the Messenger feature. And before we go to the phones at 888-564-6173, let's do one more from Facebook. Kathy and Paul wrote in. They actually sent in a few questions. Question 1, in heaven, will we notice physical features on other people, such as short, tall, thin, overweight, Tony's cool beard, Bobby's good looks, Pastor Brian's cool hair? That's question 1. Question 2, when Moses was wrestling with God, was God going to kill Moses for neglecting his family? And question 3, I'm a car enthusiast who enjoys nicer cars that tend to be more expensive. I drive a German brand that's known for performance and luxury. Sounds like a voiceover there. Is it idolatry and feeding the flesh if I buy a second well-known German brand vehicle known for performance and luxury? What would you guys say?
Wow, that's an interesting set of questions.
It's like all over the place.
Yes, all over the place. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna take the difficult one. I'm gonna take the German
car. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I take the Moses one.
Okay. All right. Bobby's left with the really challenging one.
Yes.
Well, look, I've had conversations with people at times. There's kind of two different schools, two different camps on this, I guess. Maybe there's more than two. But, people will often say, well, if you're a Christian, or especially if you're a Christian leader, you shouldn't drive an expensive car because that can stumble people and so forth. And, you really ought to drive just, your basic sort of beater model, just, your your Caravan minivan or your Voyager or something like that. And then other people say, well, the problem is if you drive a kind of a clunker, you spend more time worrying about it breaking down or trying to find out how to get it repaired. If you had a nice car, you could just, drive and be secure and all of that. So, these things to me these are personal, convictional kinds of things that I don't think there's one answer that fits everybody. I know at times I've known pastors who are very, very rigid about, no, you shouldn't drive that kind of car. That's people are going to be bothered by that. And I don't know. I tend to think that if that's a personal conviction you have, then fine. But I don't think it's necessarily one that transfers to everybody automatically. I think every situation's different. I think cultures are different. Where you live, it has a difference in the kinds of car you drive. I think there's a lot of different factors. So, and of course, your income is a big part of that as well. Yeah. So, if you're thinking about getting a second car, are you able to do that? Can you financially afford to do that? Are you doing that because you want to have a nice car that's you're secure in, you're confident that you can take off and drive across country and you're not going to get broken down somewhere, things like that. So that's the way I look at it. I think I said this to Bobby the other day. What I never do is buy brand new cars because they depreciate literally the minute you drive them off the lot. Yeah. And I think that's a big waste of money right there. But when I buy a car, which I did, I bought a car recently, and I tried to find, I want a nice car. I don't want a car that's going to break down all the time. Mm-hmm. And I want a car that's going to be able to accommodate what I want to do, where I want to go, who I want to take with me in my car. Yeah. And I want one. I'm kind of a bit of a cheapskate, so I never want to pay a whole lot of money for anything really, but a car. Yeah. So I'm always looking for a good deal, and usually I find a pretty good deal. So
this car you purchased, is it a German brand?
It is
known
a German
for performance and luxury.
It is a German brand, but it's below the performance and luxury level.
Okay.
It is called a Volkswagen.
VW.
Yes, a VW.
Is that your little bug down there? Is that your the little beetle down there?
Yeah, it's a 65.
65 Beetle? Okay, perfect.
It's the one with the doors falling off.
Yeah. But it will get you across the country with the doors open.
When I was young, I say doors falling off because I literally had a bug when I was a teenager that the doors actually fell off the car. They rusted off. And I couldn't even open them. I had to climb in and out of the window of the car because if I opened the door would fall off. Finally, I did open the door and it fell off, and then finally I got a new car.
Sure, we all have those first car stories. Tony, you're next. Or did you want to add anything about the discussion? Okay.
The next one is, Exodus 4, 24 to 26 is a very strange verse, set of verses. It said that, as Moses was going back to Egypt to lead the people out, it said that God was going to kill them. It's like, what? Hold up. So what we infer from the scriptures as you look at those particular verses, it has something to do with Zipporah not wanting to circumcise her boys. And Moses obviously heeded to that. And here is Moses about to go lead 2 to 3 million people out of Egypt into a covenant with the Almighty God. And that covenant is through circumcision. And he had not even circumcised his own boys. And God said, I'm not going to let you go and lead my people out into a covenant with me, and you have not even taken care of business at home. And they said that God was going to kill him. It's believed that some scholars suggest it was through a sickness where he couldn't get up. And so Zipporah took a knife, cut the foreskin off the boys and threw it at the feet of Moses and said, "You're a bloodthirsty man to me." And Moses said, "Oh no," and sent her back to the house and said, "You will hinder this work from taking place in Egypt," and sent her back home. And this is the thing. Do not get into relationships or marriages with people who don't understand the ways of your God, because you would have situations like this that will come up. So that's the short answer to those set of verses.
Good stuff. Bobby, you get the other question.
Yeah, so the question is, will we have recognizable features when we get to heaven where, our loved ones would know who we are? And I would be inclined to say yes. I know that people will bring up the story of the Transfiguration, where they recognized Elijah and Moses there with Jesus. At the same token, it's not like they had a picture to know what they looked like, because they had been long dead. So it wasn't that they were able to recognize them because, oh, I remember what Moses and Elijah looked like. That's them. They knew it was them. So it could be possible that we just have this knowledge of who we are, but we might not have this, noticeable self from what we looked like on earth, so to speak. You take, for example, Jesus. Look at in the New Testament, the different forms, so to speak, that the incarnate Son of God takes on. They didn't recognize him on the road to Emmaus. So there's something different about his appearance in his glorified state at that moment. You think about the vision that we get in Revelation chapter 1. So there's these nuances. Will our bodies take on different looks? I think that's something unique to the Son of God. I do think that we'll be recognizable, but will we look exactly like we do, just with, in a glorified state? That I can't say for certain. I just think that we can be confident that we're going to know one another, we're going to recognize one another, and we'll have an understanding of the contributions that God did through us on our time during earth.
Now, not only is the question, will we look the way we did on earth, but will that change? Like, will our hair grow? Will it fall off? Things like that. Will we gain weight? Will we lose weight? Maybe that's part of the question too.
Well, you know what though? I was reading this morning and through 1 Samuel, and I was blown away because this stood out to me. I've never seen this before in context with what we're talking about. So this was just this morning. You remember when Saul went to the witch of Endor, and all of a sudden he said, "I want you to pull somebody up for me." And sure enough, he wanted Samuel to be pulled up. And so when she did her little thing, she screamed. And Saul said, "What did you see?" She said, "I saw an old man coming up out of the ground." And Saul knew that was Samuel. And he began to tell Saul what was going to happen. Your boys was going to die. All of y'all going to be joining me in death. But it's interesting that Samuel was pulled up and Samuel was still an old man. And I said, Now, of course, you're going to have some people, "Oh, that wasn't really Samuel," and all that kind of mess. I'm just going with the scripture says. It was Samuel.
But that wasn't his glorified body.
Okay, then what body was it?
Well, it wasn't his glorified body. He wouldn't have his glorified body yet. So I think that we to say that that's Samuel's glorified body, that would be getting the cart before the horse.
So that means that you're saying that Samuel was waiting for his glorified body, as he was dead and it got pulled up. He was waiting for it?
Of course he is. I mean, it's not like Samuel. Of course, Samuel didn't get a glorified body. It's not like Samuel's the only one in the Old Testament that gets the glorified body, and then everybody else is waiting. It was just something that God pulled up for that specific purpose.
and then put his old body back on him to come back up to appear to Samuel, to Saul? Is that what
you
you're
don't
saying?
know, and you don't know, and I don't know what exactly is going on outside of the fact that, but God made it clear that it was Samuel. But to say that it's his glorified body, that all the Jewish
I
people
never mentioned glorified
are
body.
still waiting.
I just said he was raised. I never mentioned glorified body. I just said he was raised up. He was an old man. That's all that I got. That's all I can go with that.
Uh-oh.
Glorified body, never said.
Sounds like we're going toward
Yeah.
the direction of spirit. Man, this spirit body thing it won't leave us alone.
I think we have a new name for Tuesdays. We're going to call them Tenacious Tuesdays. That might.
Okay, let me just weigh in here. Okay, but so I think we all understand. I mean, most people understand this. There are some varying views among Christians, but I think most people would agree that the resurrected body is not something you immediately take on after death, but it's something that you wait for, and you have an interim kind of a body that we're not really told exactly what it is like. So I think that is the majority view of Christians. So that happens at the resurrection, or if we think the rapture is that place where the people who have not died will then have their glorified body instantly through. Right. Okay, so the dead in Christ rise first. We who are alive and remain shall be caught up with them together in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. So then that means that Samuel, there's not a resurrection here. Samuel has died, and he's gone into the underworld, and so he somehow visits Saul. And that in and of itself is a mystery, right? Like, how does this happen? Did she actually call him up, or was it just something God overruled and said, I'm going to pronounce a judgment on Saul right now, so I'm going to do something extraordinary with Samuel? So, yeah, I mean, I think that is how, Saul experienced Samuel, because that's how Saul knew Samuel.
Yeah.
And yet I don't think that based on that, we would say that today, or maybe today, he still is in that shape, but at the resurrection, the glorified body will be a glorified body, which would not be the body of an old man, I would say.
Tony?
So when he gets a glorified body, it's 20 years younger, 30 years younger.
No, nobody knows like younger, but I think the idea behind the glorified body is it's glorified. Now, age is a result of decay, right? I mean, we get old and die because of sin, and our body falls apart. So a glorified body would be a body that's not fallen apart, or hasn't fallen apart, right. I think.
Right. Now, Philippians 3:21 says that he would transform our lowly body that it may be fashioned like his glorious body.
Right.
So we have to say, okay, what kind of body did Jesus have? Mm-hmm. And that lets us know that is a similar type of body, a body that's is the molecular structure isn't the same. He can pass through solid objects. Yeah. He can go from here to there and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So that glorified body, for me, as far as Samuel is concerned, will be the same body, but just glorified. It will be go through solid objects and go from here to there, whatever. Yeah. But as far as the age of him, mm-hmm. I just thought that was interesting as I was reading that this morning. Yeah. That's all.
Yeah, but I think the question about Jesus then would be, is the glorified body the one that is seen after the resurrection, or is it the body that's described in Revelation chapter 1 when John sees Jesus in what I think there appears to be his glory in all of his glorified state? So, or for example, at the Transfiguration, when the disciples saw Jesus along with Moses and Elijah, and he, his raiment became white as snow and all of that. I mean, that is not what he looked like after he rose from the dead, because after he rose from the dead, they were still, some of them were still like, that's the Lord, right? That's the Lord. So,
and I think the reason for that was because he still maintained the scars of crucifixion and the beatings of crucifixion, because it says in Revelation 13:8 that he was a lamb slain from the foundations of the world. So those marks and that beating he took at the Praetorium, the beatings he took at, or the scars he took at the cross, he still has those scars. So we can forever be mindful of the price it paid for us to be in heaven. Yeah. So I think that right there describes why they didn't quite know him or recognize him after the resurrection.
You think because he was sort of still bearing the
marks of the cross and the beatings,
the brutalized beating, and beaten beyond recognition, like Isaiah says, that his visage was so marred more than any man. Yeah.
Yes, 52:14. Yes, I that's what I think, because he's described as a lamb slain from the foundations of the world. So that and yes, there is that state that we see in Revelation 1. Yeah. But I think that that glorified body of his is why they didn't recognize him, because of that. Yeah. That's just my opinion. Yeah. Just my little opinion.
I have a different opinion on that, but let's go to a different question because we've been around this mountain too long.
Okay.
As the Lord said.
I do think Bobby wanted to say something super quick, though.
Okay. Well, Bobby, please, by all means, weigh in once again.
The only thing that I would add, I think what you guys are saying is wonderful, and I think that our audience will enjoy this conversation. I've done the same thing where, we look at the Lord and we think, okay, he's able to walk through walls and some of those things. As I think further on that, I don't know that us having a glorified body guarantees that we'll be able to do those same types of things. So I think what we do is we look at the glorified body of Jesus, we see what he did, and then we kind of make the assumption that our glorified body will do the exact same things. But as I've already noted, on the road to Emmaus, they didn't recognize him. There's these different sort of manifestations of Jesus in his glorified state. And so it seems like we maybe that would happen to us, but I don't see why it would happen to us. I don't see why it would be a problem that we'd walk through walls and be able to, do all this stuff. I think it'd be amazing, but I don't think we can conclude that that's the point of those verses, that that's going to be the way that our glorified body will be as well. And I think that I just mentioned that as an interpretive thought, that as I consider going to heaven, here's what's going to be amazing. I mean, it's going to be a body suited to live forever. We're going to glorify God. We're not going to sin any longer. But there's a lot that we just don't know. All I know is we're going to be extremely satisfied customers who've been given this gracious gift of a glorified body when we get to heaven.
Yeah, and I mean, this all falls under the category, I think, of now we see through a glass dimly. So we see dimly, then we shall know, even as we are known. So right now, there's some things we're just thinking about. We're pondering. We're guessing. Might be like this, might be like that. But one day we'll actually know.
Mm-hmm. Tony?
Nothing.
Nothing.
The Pastor Brian said we're done. He said we're done, so we're done.
You're right. Brian did say we were done. But if Brian had not said we were done, what would you have said? I'm joking.
He said we're done.
All right. Very good. Thank you for sending in your questions on Facebook.com/Pastor's Perspective using the Messenger feature. We will go to the phones when we come back from the break. The phone number is 888-564-6173, 888-564-6173. My name is Brian Perez, and joined today by Brian Brodersen, Tony Clark, and Bobby Conway on this contentious Tuesday. That's the word I wanted to use, not tenacious. Tenacious doesn't really mean. I said the word, and then I thought, wait, that's not the word. Contentious Tuesday.
But you got to find a T. Oh, but there is a T,
so it's kind of alliteration.
All right.
Yeah, it partial alliteration. All right, 888-564-6173. Give us a call between now and 4 p.m. Pacific time if you're watching us on Facebook.com/Pastor's Perspective or on Dr. Bobby Conway's 1 Minute Apologist channel on YouTube. You see the number right there on the bottom of your screen. Call us, 888-564-6173. We'll be back in a couple of minutes, 888-564-6173. We are back on Pastor's Perspective. 888-564-6173 is the number to call. 888-564-6173. We're here for about 25 or so more minutes, and we'd love to hear from you answering your questions today. Brian, Brodersen, Bobby Conway, and Tony Clark. Okay, so we have a better name for this. Tenacious Tuesday, that's out the door. I don't even know why we said it, why I said it. Contentious Tuesday, okay, that's better. But Pastor Brian, during the break, thought of an even better one. What is it, Brian?
Tug of War Tuesday.
Isn't that perfect? That's it. Tug of War Tuesday.
And I think from now on, we're doing pretty good. A couple weeks in a row. I think every Tuesday we have to have a somewhat of a theological debate. So it's just part of Tug of War Tuesday. It's just what you do.
I like it.
I would like to come back at some point and debate the John 5:37 thing. I think that would be
okay. We got to give that one a rest.
If we say God has form, we are saying something I've never heard any Orthodox theologian say. So that's what I would want to dialogue around at some point. So Tony and I could have a debate on that.
So here's what we'll do at the Calvary Chapel Pastors Conference happening in June. You guys can have like a session where you just go up there and tag team Tuesday.
That would be a blast. Yes, I would love it.
Yeah.
By the way, more information about that conference, which is open to pastors and teachers, is conference.calvarychapel.com. It's happening at the end of June, so register now. 888-564-6173 is our number, and we're going to go to Ricardo in California. How can we help you, Ricardo?
I'm enjoying this Tug of War Tuesday.
Good.
And I'm highly blessed that I have the great doctor and also the great Sermonator, Tony Clark, on the phone to answer this question.
The Sermonator. I like that.
Not to be confused with the Terminator, which could be another T word we can use. But so what did you want to know, Ricardo?
The question is somebody saved if they believe in Jesus, they believe he died on the cross for their sins and all, They believe he's the Son of God, but they just don't believe he's deity.
So they believe he's the Son of God, but they don't believe he's deity. Like he's not on the same equal level as God.
Yeah.
Now, is this you, Ricardo?
No, this is for my friend. My friend Joey and I are sort of like a Tony Clark and the Great Doctor.
Yes. So you guys have your own tugs
together,
of war.
We just debate. Yeah.
So, Ricardo, is he a Jehovah's Witness or a Mormon?
No, he's a believer. So this is something that came up to where he was just saying like he had a friend that like he believes in Jesus and trusts him, but he just doesn't believe that he's deity.
Yeah.
I don't know where his friend's at. I believe his friend confesses to be Christian, though.
Yeah. Well, I think, you can be ignorant of that fact, the deity of Christ. Not everybody understands that necessarily initially. Many people do not understand it. And even later, some people don't quite understand it because they can't get their mind around the Trinity. But I think that's one thing to be ignorant of it. It's another thing to be dogmatic about it and to say like, no, it's not the case. And I wonder why he would even think that. I mean, even what he doesn't seem to understand is biblical language. Biblical language, Son of God means equal with God. Everybody knew that in Jesus' day because that's why they tried to kill him. Yeah. Because you, being a man, make yourself equal with God by saying you're the Son of God. Because to be the Son of God means you possess the same nature as God. Mm-hmm. So it seems like maybe this guy just doesn't really, maybe he just doesn't understand. It's like it can't be one or the other because it's the same thing. And, he probably just doesn't know that.
Dr. Bobby Conway, what say you?
Okay.
I would agree with Brian, and I would just want to say, Ricardo, it's for listeners like you that Tony and I, we will have these conversations, and I will just say again, I have the utmost respect for Tony Clark. He is a man of humility. He knows the scriptures inside and out. He's a good man, and he makes this so much fun. And I think on the radio show like Pastor's Perspective, it's important for Tony to be able to say something like, hey, Bobby, I'm not sure I look at it this way, because what we're doing on the radios is we're hopefully also modeling Christian character, and how do Christians who don't always see eye to eye share their different opinions and get off of the radio. Like, I've never met Tony live in person, but I can tell you this: I can't wait for the moment I get to give this guy a big bear hug and go out and hang out with him, and straighten him out on a few things. But outside of that, it is great being in this show, and I think I'm thankful for listeners like yourself that can handle that. See, some radio shows, they don't even, and I thank Pastor Brian, our great boss, who allows for that, because sometimes what people do is they're threatened by allowing any discussion to go outside of anything where they're comfortable with. But what we're doing is we're expressing the way that Christians look at things, and I think that makes a more thoughtful program.
Sermonator Tony.
Well, based upon the question, I immediately went to where, Pastor Brian did. Is this a Mormon? Is this a Jehovah's Witness? That was my initial thoughts, because both of those groups believe that, they believe in Jesus and, but they don't believe in his deity. That is, that he's God in human flesh. They don't believe that. So, it's an old saying: if you have the right Jesus, you can be right for all eternity. If you have the wrong Jesus, you can be wrong for all eternity. And that's my initial thought on it. Then when Pastor Brian mentioned about how there are people who believe in Jesus, but they don't understand fully the concept of the Trinity and that sort of thing. And then I began to think and say, you do have some people who may embrace, Jesus Christ, but don't understand the whole doctrine of the Trinity and everything. So I just, I'm kind of in the valley of decision right now on this question as far as whether they can be a Christian. I think what Pastor Brian mentioned got me thinking, because my initial response would have been no, because I've dealt with too many cults and people in cults. But then when Pastor Brian mentioned what he did, that it caused me to kind of pull back and say, maybe there could be someone who, but if they deny the deity, see, that's the key. Yeah. If he denies understand it and deny it, then I will say no.
Yeah, me too. That's what I was saying. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Ricardo, does that help you?
That helps a lot. Thank you, guys.
All right, man. Thanks for calling us today on Pastor's Perspective.
Okay. Before we go to another call, let me wait. What was it? I wanted to. Okay. Bobby, this is one for you, probably more so, because I know you've read Bart Ehrman. So just in a conversation with somebody today, and they've read one of Bart's books. I can't remember which one it is, but this has just convinced this other person that the Bible is shot full of holes and it's complete with errors, and you can't trust it because Bart Ehrman knows. He knows the best, and Bible's completely unreliable, so nobody should even take it seriously. Give me the 1-minute apologist response to Bart Ehrman.
I would say if you want to listen to two contenders dealing with Bart Ehrman, you can go and find stuff on YouTube with Gary Habermas and William Lane Craig, and I'll even throw a third in there, Michael Licona. When it comes to the Bible, we're going to have no shortage of people who are going to say the Bible is replete with contradictions. But we need to remember that there are great answers that have already been given to some of these things that Bart Ehrman brings up. So is Bart Ehrman a Greek New Testament scholar? Yeah, he's a Greek New Testament scholar, but that doesn't make him a Christian. So there's a lot of people in the university, they understand, Koine Greek, but they treat the Bible in a way where they deny the miraculous. And so he does bring stuff up, and if somebody's a new Christian and they jump in and read it, they need to be cautious. Muslims recognize the force Ehrman is to be contended with, because even though Muslims do not believe in Ehrman, what they do is they don't believe that the Gospels are reliable. So what Muslims will do is they'll bring up Ehrman's work on the Gospels to try to undercut the confidence of Christians. And so if a Christian just dives right into Bart Ehrman, they might be really thrown off. But if they read people like Dan Wallace, Mike Licona, Darrell Bach, William Lane Craig, Gary Habermas, Craig Keener, these are some scholars that can really help them to understand that they have a strong community behind them that will help them navigate some of the biblical textual difficulties without throwing out the fact that the Bible is God's infallible, inspired Word of God.
And you can find some of these resources on Bobby's 1-Minute Apologist channel on YouTube. So go there and then just do a search for Bart Ehrman, and you'll find a bunch of stuff. Ehrman, by the way, is spelled Ehrman. So you can find it that way.
Well, and, just to kind of, for our listeners' sake, again, Ehrman, his big claim to fame is he is a New Testament scholar. But again, there are plenty of New Testament scholars who are, unfortunately, in his camp. But just because he's a New Testament scholar doesn't mean that he's reliable. And he's the guy who says the Bible is, it's full of contradictions, manuscripts contradict each other, and so forth. But then he'll do, his version of a contradiction is one place the author will use the name Jesus in the same text. In another manuscript, they'll use Lord. So he says, oh, that's a contradiction right there. Well, actually, no, they're talking about the same person. One's just using Jesus and one's just using Lord. He even goes so far as to say misspelled words are contradictions, or changing out words for for newer words or synonyms. So, one says
Gotcha.
one says one thing and then the other says it uses a synonym. And so he says, well, that's a contradiction or that's an error or that's so, because doesn't he claim, what is it, Bobby? He claims like there's 6,000 errors in the New Testament or something. I mean, it's just some ridiculous thing. But then when it comes down to what he's considering an error, it's like, well, does anybody else think these are errors? It seems like common sense would tell you that, no, these are not errors.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, he wrote a
All
book
I can
called
say is
Misquoting
wow.
Jesus.
Yes, misquoting
He wrote a book
Jesus.
called Misquoting Jesus, Forged, another one. But Misquoting Jesus is one of the bigger ones that really gets people in a place where they can find themselves doubting really quickly. And again, this is why in the local church, we need pastors who are willing to teach people the Bible and help people when they come across some of these texts to not skirt over it. I mean, I think that there are some churches, their approach on Sunday is they treat people like they don't want them to think. So they look at the Bible and go, oh, we need to become like Jesus, and I need to show people how to live like Jesus. Well, that's true. But I don't think we do people a good service when we ignore. It's like, if you ever got a Bible with commentary and you just get frustrated with the study Bible because anytime you have a question, you go to that study Bible and it's like they ignore the fact that this obvious question is there. Well, I think in the same way, a pastor can build credibility for themselves in their pulpit ministry and confidence in their flock when they point these things out and show how you can reconcile these things. Like I'm taking our small groups through basically a crash course on apologetics. And here's one of the things I told them. I don't expect you to remember all these arguments that are being presented. And you don't have to remember them all. There is validity in going through the experience, even if it means you forget. And the validity will be someday when somebody challenges you on something, you'll remember that you had a thoughtful discussion on the reliability of the scriptures, even if you're not able to recall in that moment. And so it's people like Bart Ehrman, I mean, their greatest harvest fields are in churches that have no desire to teach people proper doctrine, don't want people to have to think. And Bart Ehrman just has a field day with these students that their only vision for, I'm just going to live for Jesus. It's all about life application. Well, there is life application, but part of application is knowing how do you live for Jesus when the Bible is being challenged right in your midst. That's a life application that we can give to people as well.
Hey, do me a favor. Text me those. I saw the 2 episodes where Mike Lacona talked specifically about Bart. I think there was part 1 and part 2. Would you text me those so I can forward them?
I already emailed. Oh, you want them texted as well?
Yeah, text them to me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I did email them to you, but I can.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, text them to me too.
I will do that. All right. And for information about Bobby's apologetics crash course, he does have one available online. You can go to his website, oneminuteapologist.com, and then type in /ACC, oneminuteapologist.com/ACC, as in apologetics crash course.
Well, and we've talked about this before amongst ourselves, but I think all 3 of us agree, and I would say that everybody who does Pastor's Perspective, we all have the same conviction that pastoral ministry includes apologetics. I mean, especially in it's probably always been the case, but it is more so the case today than it's perhaps ever been in history, because there is more junk floating around out there, more deception, more half truths. It's just crazy, the things that are out there available on the internet. And, people read a little bit on the internet and they think that, okay, they know it all now. And then they come out like some sort of an expert when they've never read anything except that one paragraph or the rantings of some angry atheist. Yeah. So, gosh, Lord help us.
Yeah.
Indeed. 888-564-6173. To Tori, we go in Wyoming. How do you listen to Pastor's Perspective in Wyoming, Tori?
K-Wave, I got your app on my phone.
Oh, good man.
Great little commercial there. I like that. Yes.
The K-Wave app is a great thing.
It is. It's available on the App Store, Google Play. Check it out. Download it. Listen to great Bible teaching and music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So, Tori, what did you want to know?
All day long. Hey, so I heard this Bible study, and the guy was saying that everybody in the millennia will be believers. And then I'm pretty sure I heard him say, he used the verses, 2 will be in the field, 1 will be taken, 2 will be mining at the mill, 2 will be taken. And I'm pretty sure he said that those who are taken to damnation, and the ones who are left are the ones who are in the millennial. And I always thought it was the other way around. I'm kind of confused.
Okay. Tony, what say you?
Yeah, there are a couple of schools of thoughts on this. If I can use the great doctor's thing, he'll give you a couple of views on it, but if I can use that, there are some who said that one is taken in the rapture, and then some are saying some are taken in judgment. Right. And it depends on who you're talking to. But yeah, the millennial kingdom will be populated at first with nothing but believers. The whole earth will be filled with the knowledge of God and that sort of thing. And the whole sheep and goat judgment of Matthew 25, those on the right will be taken into the millennial kingdom, and those are the believers. So it will start off with believers in natural bodies who will repopulate the earth that was pretty much destroyed during the tribulation period. So you got those schools of thoughts, one taken in the rapture or one taken in judgment.
Bobby, is there a third option?
There is a third option, and the way... No,
I was only kidding. I was like, really?
Yeah. There's a third option that some would say that they don't believe in either of the two options, right?
True.
But I thought that Tony did a great job explaining that.
Yeah. Brian, any thoughts?
Nope, that was great.
All right, Tori, what do you think?
I believe that it's the rapture, we're all going to be there. I never heard about the judgment part. It's just kind of confusing.
Well, if you
I'm going to study it. I'm going to find out.
Yeah, if you look,
I'm going to figure it out.
Look in the context. Actually, most commentators do not see it as the rapture. Most see it as taken away to judgment, because it says there where the eagle, where the body is, the eagles will be gathered, and that is a reference to the dead bodies strewn on the battlefield and the birds of prey feeding on them. So that's why it seems the context has more to do with the judgment to come. But on the surface, it looks great for a rapture verse, because it sounds like that's exactly, what it is. One taken, one left. But so you can work it out.
Thanks for calling us, Tori, on Pastor's Perspective, 888-564-6173. Ralph in California. How can we help you?
Hi, good afternoon, pastors, Pastors Bees, and Tony Clark. How's everyone doing?
Doing great.
Good, thank you, bro.
Great. Good to hear from all you. I have a question and a prayer request, if I may.
Sure.
So my question is concerning both heterosexuals and homosexuals, concerning the sins that will not allow us to get into heaven.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say all the pastors, because I don't know them all. Only all the ones that I've heard, either on the radio, flicking through the TV, or online. And I come to their sermons. Sorry, I'm getting nervous. I come to their sermons, and every time the subject of homosexuality is brought up, how come you guys mentioned, obviously that doesn't go, what goes or what not goes. So how come you guys don't also include heterosexuals, whether they're single, having sex outside of marriage, or even married couples? A lot of them think a sodomy is okay.
Have we ever addressed that, Brian?
I think we have.
I think we've addressed that many, many times.
Yes.
I mean, those sins are all, you don't necessarily find them isolated any place in Scripture. They're all lumped together. Homosexuality, or more accurately, men having sex with men, is mentioned in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 9. But it's in the context of many other sins as well. Don't you know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom, Paul says, and then he gives a list there, and that description happens to be part of the list of the other sins. And so it's not taken out and isolated like it. I think in the culture today, it is often the case that it is sort of isolated, and that we're going to preach against homosexuality, and sometimes we don't preach against fornication, against adultery, and it's all the same thing in one sense as far as God is concerned. So there should be an equal, clear presentation of what the Scripture says about all of these things, not just taking one particular form of sin and isolating that and preaching on it. So is that kind of what you're referring to, Ralph?
No. Like, for example, I had friends, acquaintances that claim they're Christians, and all of a sudden they divulge their intimacy either with their wife or their girlfriend, or vice versa, because women too. And, they just bring up a sodomy. I get up and I walk away because I'm not into that. And I clearly know it's a sin. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's strange that they would even want to bring that up in a conversation with anybody but between themselves. So I would get up and walk away too. That would be a very uncomfortable situation to be in.
Absolutely. Tony, did you have something to add?
Yeah, that is just weird. Why would people bring that up in a conversation? Like, we're out eating at lunch, and all of a sudden, guess what? Yeah, sodomy took place last night between us. So who does that? I don't get that. And so, people, hey, all I know is what the Scripture said. The Scripture says in Hebrews 13 and verse 4, it says, marriage is honorable among all, and the bed undefiled, but fornicators and adulterers God will judge. And so I say what folks do in their bedroom, they do, and we leave them in God's hand. But to broadcast it is just weird.
Let's see what Bobby thinks. No, maybe we won't find out what Bobby thinks. Who knows what Bobby might say? So let's just turn off his mic. No, I'm joking. Thanks for joining us.
There's 3 views.
No. We are out of time on today's Pastor's Perspective program. If we didn't get to your call, I'm so sorry. Please try again tomorrow. Lots of great questions on the board. We couldn't get to all of them. We'll be here tomorrow between 3 and 4 p.m. Pacific time, and we would love to hear from you at 888-564-6173. For Brian Brodersen, Tony Clark, and Bobby Conway, I'm Brian Perez. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and remember, we love you. Pastor's Perspective is sponsored by Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa.